Hello, world. Welcome to Airing It Out with your girl Fuller. Today, I'm so excited because we have an extraordinary guest today. He's not just extraordinary because he's my son. Those of you that know me and see him would know that. He's extraordinary because he's went to school. He's came over some adversities that you're going to be amazed at. Today, we are focusing on mental health. Things that are going on in our world that we're not talking about, that we need to talk about. Because we have young children out here that are affected by these things and these disorders. And us as a community or as a world, as a globe, we don't choose to, address them in ways that I think that we should address them. So I'm going to let Mr. Nickfull jump in here. But I just wanted to just give y'all just a brief overview of what schizoaffective is. And that's the disorder that Mr. Full, I guess I should say, is overcoming and learning to deal and cope with, because he does not let it define him. That's what I love about that, about him and about his journey on this, which he's going to discuss with us in this interview with us today. So schizoaffective is a disorder where your mood is unstabilized, as well as, I guess, how would you like to define the mental part of it, Nick? I'm gonna bring you on in here because I want them to see it in a mind frame of somebody that really deals with this. I don't want them to just see what Google has to say or what doctors have defined it as. I want them to hear it from somebody that lives it and deal with it, so that if it's someone out in our audience or, out here in the world that is going through with it, they will really be able to identify with it. Because, they get wordy when they get to talking about these different disorders. I'm quite sure you've seen that in your time. So introduce yourself first and tell everybody.
I'd like to welcome, not welcome you, but thank you for having me. And
sure, man. It's amazing.
Show.
Thank you for coming.
My name is Nick. I've been dealing with schizoaffective disorder for almost 12 years now. And what it is, in my definition, would be an escape from reality, where things may seem off to other people. They make sense to me. An example would be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you give us an example?
It's one of those things where, well, for one, I hear voices, and when I hear the voices, where someone else would. Well, like I did when I first was diagnosed, I freaked out.
Yeah, this is safety zone. Tell us what you felt. That's what we're doing here. Yeah?
Right.
Tell us what you felt.
If you hear someone other than your own thoughts in your head, you will definitely freak out, and that's what I did. I freaked out. Mm-hmm. But now, the things that they say, I used to believe them, heavily believe them, and it wrecked my world.
I'm quite sure to be human as we are, to hear something other than your own thoughts, and like you said, their visions, like their voices. So to hear that, I could imagine. Man, I can't imagine. I can't. I just can't. I can't imagine.
I couldn't have imagined it until it started happening to me.
So can you give us like an age of when this happened to you? Like, what were you doing? Like, where were you in your life when you found out about this?
I was living in Toronto. I had just turned 24, or was about to turn 24, should I say?
Excuse me. And just to let you guys know, it is clinically said that it shows up in young men between the ages of 20 and 25. Yes. If it's laying dormant. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was living in Toronto, and I was listening to Jasmine Sullivan, which is one of my favorite singers. And I'm jamming. I got my headphones on. I'm just listening. And then all of a sudden I hear a girl say, "Nick, can you hear me?" So I paused and I'm like, yeah.
So you answered?
Yeah. Don't ask me why I answered. Don't ask me why I answer, but it was like, I mean, yeah, I can hear you, you know, and I didn't think anything of it. I just went back to my music. I was like, okay, whatever. So then a few days later, the same girl started asking me a bunch of questions about my life and just things that I had done. And
Whoa, wait a minute. So we're having a conversation here,
yes,
like darling.
yes,
No way.
yes. And I'm thinking that it's the end of times, and this is she worked for God, and she here to figure out what I done and why I did it. This is my interview to get into heaven, so I'm trying to answer all
It's
the
not
questions.
funny, but it's
No,
yeah.
I mean,
But now
but it's real.
hindsight,
It's
yeah, it's
real.
real.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
real.
it's real.
Because
But
I don't by no means do I want anyone that watches this episode to take what Nick is sharing with us or the things that we will share throughout, our time with you, because we're looking for longevity here. Never take it as a joke. Never take it as a joke because I don't want the people that you share this with that may have this issue going on to think that we're joking. Nick is able, he's here to show you an example of what happens when you put in the work
yes,
and when you do what has been told for you to do to get you to this point, which he's going to share. This won't be, the last time you'll see Nick. He's just going to open the door for us today and be a little transparent so that we understand where this interview is going with Nick and what he's sharing and unfolding with everyone out here so that it helps these adults and young adults. I'm not going to just say young adults because adults, there are a lot of us older adults. We're suffering just as the young adults, and we don't know how to come forth and say what we need to say or say what it is to say. So that's what Airin It Out is doing with Mr. Fuller here, is bringing him in so that he shares what he's sharing with us now. So I just wanted to interject and say, by no means is it a joke. Because at that time in your life, I'm quite sure,
it definitely was.
like, so I mean, let's get you to bring them to, and me, bring us to the time where you knew you needed to get help when you think that you couldn't hold this, because we already understanding that you were having conversation with somebody you knew wasn't there, but I mean, just explain that
Yes.
to us, like,
Okay. So
bring us to where you were.
okay. So um, like I said, I was having the conversations, and that lasted for a couple of maybe days, and I was still just like, I don't know what this is, but I'm not going to tell anyone because I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Human reaction.
Yeah.
Mm.
So after I started having conversations with her, I started hearing celebrities' voices, like voices that I I was familiar with, and they were like really mean and
Not so nice.
antagonistic, and it was like, okay, what's going on,
Yeah.
but I still was just trying to fight it by myself. I didn't tell anyone.
How long did you allow that to happen? Just like trying to really cope. So I mean, what we call self-medicate, because I'm quite sure
Yeah.
you did something to
Yes.
make it shut up. I mean,
Yeah.
we're human. And by the way, on airing it out, you guys, I can't control what my guests say. So I mean, if you did something to cope, you did something to cope. By no means is we here to put you on the spot. There's no judgment here. So I mean, if it was drinking, you had to drink. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that's the first thing I need everybody to know is that we self-medicate.
We do. We definitely do. So I did start drinking a lot, and I started smoking weed too. Just like I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, what's going on? Um, and then one day I was watching TV. Actually, I was watching Family Guy, and I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with the guy who does the voices of the characters, but he said my name, and then it went from his voice to like this deep, heavy, "You're going to jail," and I was like, okay, like something's really not right. So I ended up calling. Well, my friend called the paramedics, and I went to the hospital, and I tried to explain to them what was going on, and no one could really figure out what it was or why it was.
Or nobody really wanted to hear what it was.
Yes.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real about it. We don't sugarcoat it here. Most time, when you go into a medical facility, if they do not recognize the signs or
Yeah.
have not been trained to recognize the signs, then how would they know? They can't. They can't. They just
Exactly.
tell you whatever they told you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I was honest with them, and I told them that I had smoked weed, and they were
they
like, "Oh,
probably
you're
blamed it
just
on the
high.
weed.
You're just
Yeah, they
smoking
blamed it
weed."
on the weed.
So they sent me home.
Mm.
And that was when I knew something wasn't right, because it was still, even after they sent me home, I was still battling with these voices, and I didn't understand what it was. So I started to analyze every aspect of my life, because that's what they would talk to me about. Anything I did wrong, from maybe stealing a candy bar when I was like 5 to skipping school, it didn't matter. They grilled me on
Yeah, well, I know doing reading and research, it preys on that.
it. Yes.
It preys on your dark secrets.
Yes.
Your fears, it preys on
Fears,
that. Yeah.
your fears, anxieties, anything like
Yeah.
that. Anything that you know, your regrets,
Yeah.
anything.
It preys on it.
It preys on all of that. And yeah, it definitely scared me. I eventually went.
Well, congratulations, first of all, that you at least tried to go get help that time.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I need everybody to realize how important that is, because if you're not mentally sound, you know you. You
Yeah.
know you know when you're not who you should be.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm glad that you recognize that and at least reach out for help, man.
Yeah,
Commend yourself for
definitely.
that. There's a lot of people out here living and they won't even budge because they're so afraid of what society's gonna say.
Yes.
But I feel like society needs to be quiet and listen to stories like yours.
Yes, definitely. I feel like, yes, if you are experiencing anything like this, go get help.
Because it takes support. I mean, in doing this, and taking that walk, I'll share with you guys. I'll be transparent as well. I suffered from depression. My mother suffered from depression. I watched my mother literally pretty much pass away in this coffin of depression. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another reason why I'm a big advocate of this. And I don't know. I mean, it's in our bloodline, you know, it's in people's bloodlines. It's not just my family, it's families all the way around the world. And then with the things that we're going through now in society, especially when it comes to this COVID, cancer, AIDS, anything that brings on depression in itself. Even ladies having babies, you know, the postpartum depression, it's a part of that. So these disorders, they're here, they're vibrant, and that's what happens. We don't talk about them enough. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna be real about it, especially us of color. We don't want to address it. We don't want to hear what needs to be said about this.
Yeah, definitely.
So I had to learn to be transparent about it, because I have an aunt that adamantly, you know, told me that I was depressed, but I didn't want to hear that. Had very good jobs and had people that in certain positions thought that I was a lazy person. I wasn't a lazy person. I just couldn't get out the freaking bed. You know what I mean? And once I took that and like you did address that, you know,
Yes.
It took time.
Yeah, it does.
It does take time. But that's why y'all know I'm not afraid to tell you. That's why I love our creator. That's why he created the things and the people he did to give the courage that he did to you and I, that we come on here and be able to share what we're sharing. So you go back home. They send you back home.
Yes.
And once you get back home, like, is life okay for a couple of days, or does it go right back in? Like what happened? Did they give you any kind of medication?
They didn't give me any medication, and I actually went home. And it may not have been that night, but the next night was the first time I tried to take my own life.
Are you serious?
Yes.
That's deep, Nick. That's deep. So I mean, although I know it's an experience you probably don't want to relive, of course, so we won't dig on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, what did you feel? Tell us where you were. Where were you mentally that made you say, like, the doctors done told you they didn't know what was going on.
Yes.
And now I'm quite sure the friend knows right now.
Yes. My friend knows.
So I mean, at that time, did I know or did the
no,
nobody
no
knew?
knew.
Just you two and the doctors.
Yes.
So so you're isolated.
Yes, I'm very isolated. Even my friend, he knew what I was saying, but he couldn't comprehend what it was that I was really saying.
Yeah.
And
it's hard. It's hard.
know, a lot of the time, and this is something I don't know if a lot of people realize, but when people say they hear voices, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, it's all in your head. It's just in your head." No, it's not.
Oh yeah,
not.
that's why
Like,
we're doing this.
You feel like you actually are physically hearing someone talk to you in your ear, not in your head, but in your ear. Like, my inner thoughts are completely different than the voices. Like, the voices actually,
and you know the difference
there. Yes.
And you know the difference.
Yes. So, he kind of thought that that's what it was. That it was all in my head, and
like double-minded.
Yes.
There are people that are double-minded.
Yeah, and I just kind of, I don't know. I got to a point where it was just like, I can't take this. I felt like I sometimes still feel this way, but I've gotten better coping mechanisms, but I felt like I was being monitored 24/7. So no, and not just my actions or the words that I spoke, but everything, because whatever I thought, they would comment on. Like, I could be like, "Damn, I like those shoes," and they'd be like, "Well, you going to jail anyway," or something negative.
Something negative to, like, we established that they feed off that.
Yes.
So
yes. So it got to a point where I just thought it was unbearable, and I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't vocalize that I was going to do it. I just attempted it. And there was one of the weirdest and saddest moments in my life, because the next I'll tell you, I drank this stuff called liquid nail, which should have definitely killed me.
Yeah.
But I woke up the next morning and I was so upset and depressed, and I even cried because I was still alive.
Oh, God.
And that's one of the hardest things, is to feel like such a failure to the point where you can't even kill yourself, right? So,
but dude, I'm glad you're still here, man.
I'm glad to be here.
Too, man. You know what I'm saying? And for everybody that's listening and tuning in with us, I mean, everybody knows Nick that are tuning in that knows us. That's not this guy's personality,
No.
So God, I just needed that moment. I needed that moment because that hit hard. I'm quite sure our audience hard. But know that there are people out here that's feeling this way. And Nick has already let us know that he's been to 2 people now.
Yes.
He went to the doctor, he told his friend, and nobody's understanding what he's feeling. So that's another reason why we need you to share this video. You don't have to like, you don't have to comment, subscribe, please. But make sure you share this, because we don't know what young adult is feeling the things that Nick was feeling. We don't know. We get that suicide rate is crazy. And a lot of these young kids, they lost parents. They lost grandparents. They lost uncles. They lost aunties. They lost cousins. They lost. So if I'm living with this, what you're describing, the schizoaffective, depression, bipolar, and these are things we will talk about, just to name a few, on top of what happened in the pandemic, where do you even think you would have been as a young man?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have been able to handle that.
Yeah, so do you,
I mean, with God's help,
yes, of
I
course.
would
Of
have
course.
gotten
You
through
always,
it,
yeah.
but
It would have been on.
it would have been a lot. It would have been a lot. So I can only imagine what someone who is in my shoe at 24, where I was at 24. I can only imagine going through that in 2020 or 2021. Like that is unfathomable to me because it's it's scary.
Mhm.
It's a lot.
Mhm. It's a
It's
lot to
a whole
process,
lot.
right? So that's why it was so important for me to get you on here, young man,
Yes.
and for you to continue with us and sharing your story. By the way, he's a part of the cast, you guys. So
Yeah.
you guys would definitely see Mr. Fuller more. Um, but I mean, I want you to just fast forward just a little bit and
Okay.
tell them a little bit about who you are now, because we're gonna give y'all some more of this story. We are. But we want to know just a little bit about who are you now. You know, just to let them know where you were. You
Yes.
told them that, but where you are now through, of course, getting the help and I mean, just bring it to us.
Now that I've gotten where I need to be, um, I've finished school with a bachelor's and a master's degree. Um, I'm part of the production team. Hi guys. This is our setup. Most of it I helped put together. Um, I produce, engineer. I call myself rapping. I would just
You're
throw
a
that out
rapper,
there.
kid. Come on,
I
you
just
did it,
got,
kid.
but
No, kid, you did it. You did it. Arthur,
I'm an
yeah.
author. Um, on top of that, I can be a son, a brother. I'm a husband.
Yeah.
I'm an uncle.
Yeah, uncle. I was
So
going to say uncle. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I've got a lot of hats that I wear, and none of them would have been possible had I not gotten treatment. You know, if I didn't seek help,
Mhm.
there's no way that I could be where I am today. Um, and I continue to get better.
Yeah.
I
Every
continue
day
to
is every
grow.
day is a walk.
Yes,
Every day, and that's with anything, you guys. Whether it's a drug addiction, a drinking addiction, whatever we go through, whatever is our flaw, that you work at it, you get better every day. But we got to stop looking at it as a flaw,
mhm,
and maybe it may be a blessing. Have you ever thought about that?
that's true. I've actually had a lot of people tell me that. A lot of like more spiritual people, and they've all told me the same thing. Like the first time they ever met me, the first thing they would say is something's different about you. And I'm like, oh well, I have schizoaffective disorder. And they're like, oh, that's a blessing. It's not a disorder. And I'm like, huh? Like I'm looking at this like, what? If you experience what I experienced, and they're like, you're just afraid of it right now. You'll be all right. And I'm like, in a way, I can see that. I can understand that. That's not to say to not go get help if you're experiencing symptoms of any kind of mental illness, but in a way, it is a gift. My mind.
But see, it took you time to learn
Yeah.
it. And because we just didn't say it, it's been defined so long as a curse.
Yes.
I feel like if we're going to talk about it being a curse, the curse becomes when we don't see about it, when we don't learn how to do it. That's just like everybody that get up and go to work and go into a job. They teach you, but until you master that craft, then
That's true.
so, I think that people with the gifts or with the disorders as society say, so that I don't confuse anyone, I feel as if this is my feelings, you guys, um, as if society labels it so hard that if without you having the support and without you going to get the help, you probably would have still been in that cage.
Yes, definitely.
You would still be in that cage.
Mhm.
But you chose to look outside that cage to realize that, you know what, I got this, but I can live.
Yeah.
That's what we want these young people and our audience to understand is that it doesn't matter where you're at and what you're going through in life. You can survive. We can.
Yes. Yes.
We choose to say we can. We can.
And you're not alone.
And you're not
There's
alone.
so
Yeah.
many people going through the exact same thing.
Yes.
The exact same
Exact
thing.
same.
Because for so long I thought it was just me, and I'm like, there's something wrong with me. Everyone hates me. Everyone in the entire world is against Nick. Until I started reading, and there are millions of people who think the exact same thing,
Yes.
feel the exact same way, experiencing the exact same thing. Their voices may say different things to them, but they're still hearing someone. And most of the time, it feels like they're being harassed and watched all the time because that's all it is. And then it makes you paranoid. You know, who can I trust? Who's against me?
But we're here to let you know that it can be done. It can be success can be yours. With no matter what's going on with you, no matter what disorder that society has told you, you can do this. I mean, Nick is our perfect example that this can be done. And you've been living with this. I've watched you, walk this walk, and I've seen you go through some rough times. Yes. So, like, I get, and I don't say that just because you're my son. I say this because you are a human being that I see go through, excuse my language, holy hell, yes. To get where you are, So, I mean, don't take that lightly. Well, and now to the world of having this COVID thing, and it's eye opening. It's very eye opening. So I mean, I do hope and pray you are coming back to see us again.
Yes, definitely.
I know you said you had a nugget for them about something they should watch to maybe understand a little bit more before you come back to this.
Yes, there's a movie called Words on Bathroom Walls. It's pretty much my life in a nutshell. It's about a guy who has schizophrenia, not schizoaffective disorder. But
can you, in a break, can you tell them the difference between that? I wanted to go into that just a brief moment. Since you brought it out, yeah. I'm glad you did. Can you just give them a briefness of what's the difference? Because a lot of people get them mixed up.
Yes. Schizophrenia is like schizoaffective, where there's this escape from reality and you kind of can't grasp what's real and what's not. With schizoaffective disorder, though, I've gotten to a point where I am able to process and understand that it's not real, even though it still seems real.
Yeah.
But I'm able to kind of get past it.
And if that makes
sense.
Yeah.
So
you have now, I'm gonna say, bring in another skill into this to where you can see that, okay, even when you're in an episode, let's say, yes. You can say, okay, Nick, that's your reality.
Yes. Yes.
Where a person with schizophrenic may stay in that on their reality, and not see our reality.
Yes.
If that makes sense to all of you.
Yes.
And that may help somebody that is listening that may be feeling what they're feeling. And glad that you brought that up. Great. Okay. So we was talking about the movie.
So it's about a guy. He has schizophrenia, and he battles. It's just his struggle. Once he finds out that he actually has schizophrenia, and the things that he tries to do to cope, the medicines they try to put him on, and just side effects from medicine. It's a lot that happens not only in the movie, but when you're going through the process of trying to find the best medication, or the best treatment, the best coping mechanisms, because not everything works for everyone, especially when it comes to medicine,
right?
Because what may create side effects within me may not create side effects within someone else taking the same medicine at the same dosage and everything. But Yeah, it's a great movie. I actually think I cried. To be honest, we're being transparent.
Yeah, let's be
You know what I'm
transparent.
saying?
I mean,
But I
that's the one
did
thing
cry.
is that it's enough fakeness in the world. We need some authenticity
Yeah,
here,
yes.
and that's what we are bringing forth to the world. We want to be authentic about it. So if you cried, you cried.
Yeah, I
That's the
definitely
problem
cried.
with us now. We don't feel like you show your emotions. You just don't act in your emotions.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
but it's okay to show them.
that's true.
You can't be just on wrong out here and just
Yeah.
nothing bothers me. It does.
Yeah, it does.
It does. That's how they bother you.
It definitely
They pretend
does.
that
Yeah,
doesn't bother you. So
definitely.
I'm glad that you were able to share that.
Yes. Well, thank you.
But I thank you for sharing this about this movie. And I had a thought inside my head about that I wanted to ask you as far as the medication. I know you had a journey on the medication. Um, in talking to our audience, when you were going in, I know I pushed you, nobody else, to be transparent to these doctors about how you feel. And don't just stay on the medication because they say that that's the medication.
Yes.
Can you speak a little bit to that? Like, did you see why it was so important to us?
Yes. Yes. I definitely saw it because there's just certain side effects that I experienced, and at first I was kind of embarrassed about some of them, or not wanting to really accept that that was happening. Like one medication kept me from being able to like really move my jaw, or I would like my jaw would be tight all the time, and I was like, no, this can't be happening. And they were saying that it would be permanent if it did start. So I did have to open up to my doctors and let them know, like, look, my jaw, like I grind my teeth. I still grind my teeth, but my jaws are not tight like they were. Um, or the medication that made me move like extremely slow to the point where I couldn't put on my own belt, and I like lost usage of my arm and stuff like that. If I didn't talk to you and then talk to my doctors about this stuff, I'd be I don't know where I'd be, I'd be worse off than I am now.
And see, that's why I wanted you to touch on that because this is just not for patients. This is for parents. If you're dealing with this, or you have somebody in your life that you feel that might be dealing with this or whatever, it takes us. It takes a village to step up for you guys and say the things I said to you. Like, how is this making you feel, and push them to tell them, because as Nick is telling you, these medicines are whoa. They're powerful. They're strong. So think about how many people out here that are just taking what they tell them to take, and feel the way Nick said he felt when he couldn't move. And I saw Nick, like you were like a zombie. I remember.
Yes.
It was like he was like a zombie. So think about how many of our youth and our people in the world that they give these medications to, and nobody steps up to say that this made me feel this way or this made me feel that way, and they never got the medication changed. They're just stuck right there. They don't know that they can do something else because it worked. Yeah, it worked, but it's still the purpose of these medications. Let's just talk about that for a minute. The purpose of these medications is supposed to get the person back as close as possible to themselves. That's what it's supposed to be. So I shouldn't feel like no zombie. But of course, because of the cost of prescriptions, because of people not taking the time to talk to their patients, and their patients not probing them or having somebody with them to probe them, you don't get the connections that you got. So you're blessed.
I was blessed with all of my doctors.
And the doctors, they care. They care because you got doctors out here. I'm sorry, not trying to step on nobody's toes. We just telling the truth. That really don't care. They come in, they make their paycheck, and they move on. If I keep, Nick calm, then I did my job.
Yeah.
But that's not our job, everybody. That's not our job. Our job is to get our people some help. And when we get them the help, make sure it's the best help that they can get, by meaning that we take the time so that I don't care how angry they get or how much they say, oh, there's nothing they can do. You do the research, you do the reading, and make sure you push them to do their job. And that's to take care of your family member or that person. Or if it's just yourself, when you're there, I'm quite sure you'd be like, nah, that didn't feel right.
Right.
But you need to have that in you.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have that in you so that you get to be like this young man right here.
Right.
As close to you as possible.
Yeah.
Because I tell people, only you know you. Nobody knows you like you.
Right.
So if you're out there and you're hurting from anything that, we can help with, you're more than welcome to reach out to us here at Airin It Out. But most of all, you'll see it's listed. We'll have a number that you can call because they have places now where you can get free help. Reach out to a family member. And family members, y'all need to be open. Listen to these people when they come and talk to you. Listen to these kids when they come and talk to you. Because you never know when they're reaching out for help. As Nick told you himself, he was in a place where he just didn't feel like he deserved to live anymore. There's a lot of kids out there like that. A lot. So let's do our part. All right? Know that I love you guys, and there's nothing you can do about it. We thank you again, Nick, for showing up and showing out.
Thank you for having me.
You did great. You did great. And we will see you guys the next time on Airing It Out. Y'all know that God loves y'all even more, and there's nothing you should ever want to do about that. And I'll see you the next time on Airing It Out with your girl, Fuller. Bye.